Welcome to Lead with Purpose, a podcast hosted by Dr. Janell Gibson. This series features meaningful conversations with leaders in education and beyond, sharing insights that inform, inspire, and challenge us to lead with vision and values. From the evolving landscape of higher education to building careers rooted in purpose, we explore the ideas shaping how we learn, lead, and grow. With over 24 years of experience in higher education, Dr. Gibson brings a student-centered perspective grounded in collaboration, innovation, and impact. As the Provost and Chief Academic Officer at Columbia Southern University, her work continues to champion progress, purpose, and lifelong learning. Let's learn, lead, and grow with purpose. Welcome to Lead with Purpose.
Hello, and welcome to Leading with Purpose. I'm Dr. Janell Gibson, and I'm thrilled to launch this series where we'll dive into meaningful conversations with leaders in education and beyond. A little about me. I joined Columbia Southern University in 2018 as the Vice Provost of Academic and Student Affairs and transitioned into the role of Provost and Chief Academic Officer in 2020. I've spent 24 years in higher education and focused quite a bit of that time in online education. I also taught behavioral science courses and have held multiple university positions. I believe in a student-centered approach that emphasizes collaborative learning and exceptional service. The bottom line is that I love and value students, and I want learning to be fun. I hold a BA in journalism from the University of Georgia, go Dogs, and a master's in counseling and a PhD in conflict analysis and resolution from Nova Southeastern University. This series is all about sharing insights that enhance, inform, and inspire others to lead with purpose. We'll explore topics like the evolving landscape of education, fostering resilience and growth within communities, and building meaningful careers that align with one's values and goals, to name a few. For our first episode, I'm honored to welcome Chief Keith Padgett. With 45 years in the fire service, Chief Padgett brings a wealth of experience in emergency services, leadership, and education. He currently serves as CSU's Fire and Emergency Medical Services Academic Program Director. Chief Padgett previously served as Fire Chief of the Beulah Fire District in Valley, Alabama, and as the Chief Fire Marshal for the Fulton County Fire Rescue Department in Atlanta. He's presently the co-chair of the FESHE EMS Curriculum Work Group. He also served as a specialty educational board member for the International Association of Fire Chiefs. Chief Padgett completed the National Fire Academy's Executive Fire Officer program and holds a master's degree in leadership with an emphasis in disaster preparedness and executive fire leadership, and a bachelor's degree in public safety administration. So how is that for a mouthful of credentials? Join us as we dive into his journey, the lessons he learned, and his insights on leadership in critical service fields. Let's get started. Keith, thank you for being here. I'm excited to talk with you more about your background in fire safety and some exciting new fire programs here at CSU.
Dr. Gibson, I'm thrilled to be here on the first edition of Leading with Purpose, and I've got to say it, go Dogs.
All right, love it. I know this podcast is going to go well with that. So, Chief Padgett, can you share a defining moment in your leadership journey?
You know, I can, and I'm going to answer it with a little short story that I have. When I was about 8 or 9 years on the job, I was a ladder truck driver in the Southwest Atlanta area, a metropolitan of Atlanta. And I was a paramedic at that time, and they assigned us to a rescue unit. And there was a young gentleman by the name of Maurice, and he had only been on the job for a couple of years. And we had responded to the largest industrial park in the southeast. It's a Fulton Industrial Complex, and we were at a warehouse fire that night, and they did recycled cardboard. The alarm was going off, heavy smoke inside the building, large area complex, big box store. and the sprinklers were going off in the very back of the structure, and we were assigned search and rescue. So we were on the way back there. You can barely see the hand in front of your face. And as we're going along, Maurice taps me on the back and says, "Keith, are you sure we ought to be in here?" And at that moment, I
Uh,
realized that I was in charge. I was the leader of that group because he was relying on my education and experience. And I was like, yes, we're okay. Let's head this direction. So there's always a younger group or an inexperienced person that needs that leadership and relies on that. So I think that's very, very valuable. Of course, we got back there, found out what was going on, opened up some overhead doors. The engine companies come in, they extinguish it, and we got the place kind of squared away. But that was probably a defining moment for me. And Maurice and I see each other occasionally, and we laugh about that moment because, but it was very defining.
so I imagine it was, because not only was that a defining moment for you, his life was in your hands. So many of the leadership decisions that you face, the roles, lives are on the line. And I know oftentimes it's not only one life, it's the lives of everybody there, the lives of everybody involved. So, Chief Padgett, goodness gracious, what strategies help you stay confident in these kinds of high pressured situations?
Well, I always have to go back to the learning that I have, the training and education and experience that you develop over years of being in the fire service. And we always are improving. Every shift, every day that you're on the firehouse, that you're at the firehouse, you should be doing something to further your education and improve in your job. And I kind of go back to, there's a gentleman, David Cobb. He wrote a book, this experiential learning model, and that's his theory. And we learn from that experience, but we also have to apply our training and education to that. Another one is Gary Klein. Gary says that Dr. Klein says that there's every emergency responder has a slide tray per se in their head, and they build those experiences on those like slides. And then when they come to an emergency situation, they pull out the best slide that fits that experience and apply it to that. So that's why it's incumbent upon us to keep building those experience through training, education, and experience. That helps every emergency responder to be prepared for any situations they might come upon.
Well, you certainly explain the vital role that education plays in protecting lives, yet many people don't prioritize it until an emergency occurs. From your perspective, what are some key steps we can take as a nation to enhance fire prevention efforts? And additionally, why is it crucial for individuals to be well informed about fire safety and emergency services?
We should always expand on the public education and awareness. If you look at the U.S. Fire Administration, they say the one of our target groups should be the older generation. If you look
Right.
at their statistics, it's 85 years and older are highly susceptible to dying in a fire. So it's an incumbent that we teach them about cooking and heating appliances and maintaining their HVAC units in their house, and also their electrical that's throughout the house. So we just need to work on that to make sure. And then one of the things that's kind of odd, and I've got a little story to go with this, is candles. It's
Mm.
very it's very beautiful to have the ambiance and have the candle out, but it is an open flame. And the story I have is my daughter, when she was very young, she was a cheerleader. She was probably 5 or 6 at the time, and she came home one afternoon, and her mother had a candle burning on the coffee table in the living room. She ran through there and threw her pom poms on the coffee table, which landed on the
Oh,
candles, and we had a pretty good little fire on the coffee table. And luckily, I was there right behind her and was able to get it extinguished. But it was a hard lesson for us, and of course for her as well. But something like that can easily. So I always tell everybody, to be careful with the candles. Years later, I purchased my daughter a little battery operated candle that had a remote and put off a little bit of aroma, and it created that ambiance that she was looking for, but with much safer environment. So be aware of that. And one other thing I'd like to encourage everybody is to reach out to their city councilor, their community commissioners, and county commissioners, and support the local fire departments. That's one thing that people, because they always think it'll never happen to me. But when you need that emergency responder, you can pick up 911 and they'll show up. But they need the funding. So make sure that you speak with the city councilman, county commissioner, whoever it might be, but also support the U.S. Fire Administration and the National Fire Academy. And then one thing I want to talk about is CSU, Columbia Southern University's partnership with the International Association of Fire Chiefs and their officer development program. That's been a huge success for us. And of course, it trains our people, but it also bleeds over into fire prevention efforts, response efforts in any type of emergency situation. And then the last one, and I'll be quiet in just a second,
No,
is
we love it.
invest in the advanced technology, VR training, virtual reality, adaptive learning, simulations. I think that's the wave of the future. I mentioned earlier about Gary Klein and his slide trays. We need to allow all of our fire responders, firefighters to be able to train and build those simulations in their minds so they're prepared. Because it's not often that, that they get to respond to emergencies, but when they do, they need to be prepared.
These are great. This is so much great information because you said a couple things, Chief, that really stuck with me. And that first one is that all of us always think this will never happen to me. And then how common was the situation that you just described with your daughter? Okay, right? We all light candles. So many have children, and it's that quick that something happens. And this is your role. And thank gosh you were there and able to put it out that quickly. But how many others may have not been able to react so quickly and something would have happened? So these are great examples and things for us to keep in the forefront of our mind. And with that, CSU's launched an exciting new program. It's our Doctor of Fire Integrated Research. Can you tell us more about this cool new program, who it's designed for, and how it helps prepare professionals in the field of fire safety and emergency services?
Absolutely. We are very excited about that. And Dr. Gibson, I know you're very well aware, we also have a master's in fire executive leadership. And I tell everyone, I said that master's, as well as our undergraduate programs, prepare those leaders for the future. And the master's will probably get you to the executive level, whether it's assistant chief, deputy chief, or fire chief. But the doctorate of fire integrated research is going to take you beyond that. It's going to allow you to give back to the industry, conduct that research, solve problems, and further the body of knowledge in the industry. So that's our big push for this, and we're very excited about it. And I've got to recognize the course writers. And during this development, we had 7 different courses that we had to write, but the course writers and the instructional designers were far beyond our expectations. They were superior, and we met every Friday and had like a roundtable discussion in development, and then bounced the different thoughts and concepts off each other. But one of the course writers, I'm sorry, one of the IDs came together and she says, it's the students' ethical responsibility to give back to the industry. And Christina Horton is that ID, and she did a phenomenal job. She was the ID on 3 of our courses in this program, and just really it was a passion for her. But she hit it home when she said that, it's an ethical responsibility or obligation for the students to give back to the industry through research and to add to that body of knowledge. So we're very excited about that program.
Right. Tremendous. It's a way to uplift our communities. And this program, what we hope, is going to take a really proactive approach to some of the things that we can do to mitigate the risk of the fire disasters. We don't want loss of life. We don't want communities destroyed. And we've had some real strong examples of that happening. So I love that this industry is taking a proactive, research-oriented approach to trying to make, right, our communities safer. With that, Chief Padgett, in the fire industry, as you reflect back on past events that help leaders grow, just like you have the lessons learned in the fire industry, what's one leadership lesson you wish you had learned earlier?
This was a kind of a difficult one for me because I came in the door at multiple levels wanting to make change, and change, as we always know, is kind of difficult sometimes for the organization to accept. So I can, and we've probably heard this before, you can only move an organization as fast as it can absorb change. And I think that goes
Right.
across the board. That's a very valuable lesson. And we just have to, take time, be patient, and be observant, and figure out if we're making the change at that pace that the group can absorb. And it sometimes we have to just back up and see where we're at and kind of reevaluate. But I think that's a valuable lesson I wish I would have learned very early on.
That's a great lesson to share. And, I think that lesson applies to everybody across disciplines, because as a leader, by the time we get to a point of wanting to move something forward, we've already put significant thought, mental energy into this. And so by the time we bring it to the group, we're often ready for movement and have to realize that they're just now hearing about it. So I think you're right. There's that balance between not stopping and not stifling, but also giving it time to move forward in the way that it needs. So this is really valuable stuff. And I thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience, to share lessons learned with us. Chief Padgett, could you tell our audience, how can they find out more information about our new program and all of our fire programs?
Sure. Go to columbiasouthern.edu and look at academics, and you can scroll down and you can see all of our programs from the associate all the way to the doctor. So it's been fun, Dr. Gibson. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to doing it again.
Well, that is a definite that we will do. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Leading with Purpose. Take care.